You guys recently did an airline performance quality ratings survey. Tell me a little bit about that and why the reason for it.
The National Airline Quality Rating is being released today for the 20th consecutive year. The airline quality rating is comprised of four major categories important to the traveler: on-time performance by the airline, baggage handling, customer service, and denied boardings.
How did the overall ratings go for the airlines this year?
The overall ratings for the second year in a row are improving. And this is after a 5-year decline. Basically, the quality of the industry plummeted in the preceding 5 years. It stopped going down and made an upturn last year, and that trend is continuing this year.
Why the downward turn and now the upward turn? What caused it to go down?
The cause for it to go down was basically the fact that the system was overconsumed, had overcapacity. When there's more flights happening and there's more delays, there's more inconsistency in the four major areas of the airline quality rating, and that took it down over time. Unfortunately, the reason we see an upturn last year and this year is the fact that there are fewer flights and fewer people traveling.
Why are there fewer flights? Why are there fewer people traveling?
This is really a consequence of the economic downturn. We saw the travel diminishing first. It's probably going to be the last thing we see recovering to full system capacity as the economy improves.
Do you see the airline industry improving? Do you see people beginning to start flying more as the economy perhaps becomes better?
Well, I do think that that historical trends show us that as the economy improves, so will airline travel. The problem is we're not fixing the underlying problems. For example, we have yet to fully modernize air traffic control. We have yet to build more runway and landing capacity at the major hub airports, or at least anything that of a scale that helps the system overall. So the bad news is once everything recovers, we may be back to that time of poor performance.
Why do you feel, you mentioned that we haven't modernized airports, we haven't modernized the industry. Why do you think that is? Why are we not spending the money to modernize and upgrade air traffic controllers, build more landing strips at hub airports? Why are we not pursuing those interests?
We're not pursuing it in part because it is expensive, because every time it seemingly becomes a priority, we've had a major event that stopped the process. For example, September 11th. Prior to that, we were at a period of probably near systemic collapse of the industry because it was so much overcapacity. Then we had the event and air travel plummeted. As it recovered, we didn't, during the downtime, fix the problems. And it came back. We got to near system overcapacity once again about 3 years ago. And now it plummeted again. And we're still not fixing it.
Why are we seeing the overabundance and then the collapse? You mentioned that it was an overabundance before 9/11, and then we had the events of 9/11 and the industry almost collapsed. It came back. It's fallen off. It's on its way back. Why do we continue to see the same pattern?
We don't have the resolve at the federal government level to make it happen yet. Every time we get close to having the resolve, we see a turn down, and then it's not a priority again. However, at the end of this month is one of the first steps we see in the government taking decisive action to help the consumer, because at the end of April, a new fine structures going into place that, for example, on the huge issue of being delayed multiple hours and stranded on an airplane, is now going to be a severe penalty to any airline that does that. So Congress is taking action, and we're seeing a first step this month.
You mentioned the penalties. Is this a slap on the wrist for the airline, the penalties, or are these actually going to help the flyer and the consumer in their argument that, hey, why are we having such delays? Why am I sitting on an airplane for 6 hours and we're not going anywhere?
It will certainly benefit the consumer in the fact that we'll see less of that type of long-term, or we'll see less of those long delays because of the punitive nature of the fine. The downside is if an airline thinks a flight's going to be delayed or before it gets, say, to the 3-hour mark, they'll cancel the flight. And if there's fewer seats and fewer flights at the time that's happening, like there are today, then sure, you may not be stranded on the airplane, but you may be stranded at the airport.
Consumers overall, I feel, are reluctant, per se, to fly on airlines because of the high prices for tickets. They're charging for baggage now, and that's the new thing. How can the airline industry improve their overall look and appearance to the customer so that the customer will come back to the airlines?
It's all about revenues. The airlines across the board lose billions of dollars year after year. No industry can sustain itself in that area. When an industry is losing money like this, it's not sustainable. If it's not sustainable, they can't provide quality service to the consumer. And it really is all about pricing. When the prices are so low, and they are low historically now, the airlines aren't making money. But as a group, they can't charge more money because there's a kind of a built-in undercutting that's always going on. And without regulating prices, the airline industry will probably never return to profits.
You've done this airline quality studying and you've rated them. You've said that it's improved. What were some of the things that have improved over the time span of your survey?
Well, certainly this year we're seeing improved performance in 3 of our 4 categories. On-time performance, and that is probably a result of fewer flights. Improved baggage handling, which could be a result of since passengers have to pay for bags, they're not checking as many bags. Or it could be that the airlines are doing a better job because now they're charging to handle the bags. And then we've also seen fewer customer complaints filed with the Department of Transportation. That's good news.